Chapter 1 of Celebrated Crimes, Volume 5, Part 2, Le Constantin. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Le Constantin by Alexandre Dumas. Chapter 1. Before beginning our story, we must warn the reader that it will not be worth his while to make researches among contemporary or other records as to the personage whose name it bears, for in truth neither Marie Leroux, widow of Jacques Constantin, nor her accomplice, Claude Perregaud, was of sufficient importance to find a place on any list of great criminals, although it is certain that they were guilty of the crimes with which they were charged. It may seem strange that what follows is more a history of the retribution which overtook the criminals than a circumstantial description of the deeds for which they were punished, but the crimes were so revolting and so unsuitable for discussion that it was impossible for us to enter any details on the subject, so that what we offer in these pages is, we confess quite openly, not a full, true, and particular account of a certain series of events leading up to a certain result. It is not even a picture wherein that result is depicted with artistic completeness. It is only an imperfect narrative, imperfectly rounded off. We feel sure, however, that the healthy-minded reader will be grateful for our reticence and total disregard of proportion. In spite of the disadvantage which such a theme imposes on any writer with a deep sense of responsibility, we have resolved to let in some light on these obscure figures, for we can imagine no more effective way of throwing into high relief the low morals and deep corruption into which all classes of society had sunk at the termination of the factious dissensions of the Fronde, which formed such a fitting prelude to the licence of the reign of the Grand Roi. After this explanation, we shall, without further preamble, introduce the reader to a little tavern in Paris, situated in the rue Saint Andre des Arts, on an evening in November 1658. It was about 7 o'clock. Three gentlemen were seated at one of the tables in a low, smoky room. They had already emptied several bottles, and one of them seemed to have just suggested some madcap scheme to the others, the thought of which sent them off into shouts of laughter. "Pardieu!" said one of them, who was the first to recover his breath, "I must say it would be an excellent trick." "Splendid," said another, "and if you like, Commander de Jars, we can try it this very evening." "All right, my worthy king's treasurer, provided my pretty nephew here won't be too much shocked." And as he spoke, de Jars gave to the youngest of the three a caressing touch on the cheek with the back of his hand. "That reminds me, de Jars," said the treasurer, "that word you have just said piques my curiosity. For some months now this little fellow here, Chevalier de Moranges, follows you about everywhere like your shadow. You never told us you had a nephew. Where the devil did you get him?" The commander touched the chevalier's knee under the table, and he, as if to avoid speaking, slowly filled and emptied his glass. "Look here," said the treasurer. "Do you want to hear a few plain words, such as I shall rap out when God takes me to task about the peccadillos of my past life? I don't believe a word about the relationship. A nephew must be the son of either a brother or a sister. Now, your only sister is an abbess, and your late brother's marriage was childless. There is only one way of proving the relationship, and that is to confess that when your brother was young and wild, he and love met, or else Madame l'abbesse—" "Take care, Treasurer Jeannin, no slander against my sister." "Well, then, explain. You can't fool me. May I be hanged if I leave this place before I have dragged this secret out of you. Either we are friends or we are not. What you tell no one else, you ought to tell me. What? Would you make use of my purse and my sword on occasion, and yet have secrets from me? It's too bad. Speak, or our friendship is at an end. I give you fair warning that I shall find out everything, and publish it abroad to court and city. When I strike a trail, there's no turning me aside. It will be best for you to whisper your secret voluntarily into my ear, where it will be as safe as in the grave." "How full of curiosity you are, my good friend," said de Jars. leaning one elbow on the table and twirling the points of his moustache with his hand. "But if I were to wrap my secret round the point of a dagger, would you not be too much afraid of pricking your fingers to pull it off?" "Not I," said the king's treasurer, beginning to twirl his moustache also. "The doctors have always told me that I am of too full a complexion, and that it would do me all the good in the world to be bled now and then. But what would be an advantage to me would be dangerous to you. It's easy to see from your jaundiced phiz that for you bloodletting is no cure." "And you would really go that length? You would risk a duel if I refused to let you get to the bottom of my mystery?" "Yes, on my honour. Well, how is it to be?" "My dear boy," said de Jars to the youth, "we are caught, and may as well yield gracefully. You don't know this big fellow as well as I do. He's obstinacy itself. You can make the most obstinate donkey go on by pulling its tail hard enough, but when Jeannin gets a notion into his pate, not all the legions of hell can get it out again. Besides that, he's a skilful fencer, so there's nothing for it but to trust him." "Just as you like," said the young man. "You know all my circumstances, and how important it is that my secret should be kept." "Oh, among Jeannin's many vices there are a few virtues, and of these discretion is the greatest, so that his curiosity is harmless. A quarter of an hour hence he will let himself be killed rather than reveal what just now he is ready to risk his skin to find out, whether we will or no." Jeannin nodded approvingly, refilled the glasses, and raising his to his lips, said in a tone of triumph— "I am listening, commander." "Well, if it must be, it must. First of all, learn that my nephew is not my nephew at all." "Go on." "That his name is not Morange." "And the next?" "I am not going to reveal his real name to you." "Why not?" "Because I don't know it myself, and no more does the chevalier." "What nonsense!" "No, no nonsense at all, but the sober truth. A few months ago the chevalier came to Paris, bringing me a letter of introduction from a German whom I used to know years ago. This letter requested me to look after the bearer and help him in his investigations. As you said just now, love and someone once met somewhere, and that was about all was known as to his origin. Naturally, the young man wants to cut a figure in the world, and would like to discover the author of his existence, so that he may have someone at hand to pay the debts he is going to incur. We have brought together every scrap of information we could collect as to this person, hoping to find therein a clue that we could follow up. To be quite open with you, and convince you at the same time how extremely prudent and discreet we must be, I must tell you that we think we have found one, and that it leads to no less a dignitary than a prince of the church. But if he should get wind of our researches too soon, everything would be at an end. Don't you see? So keep your tongue between your teeth." "Never fear," said Jeannin. "Now, that's what I call speaking out as a friend should. I wish you luck, my gallant Chevalier de Morange, and until you unearth your father, if you want a little money, my purse is at your service. On my word, de Jars, you must have been born with a caul. There never was your equal for wonderful adventures. This one promises well spicy intrigues, scandalous revelations, and you'll be in the thick of it all. Oh, you're a lucky fellow. It's only a few months since you had the most splendid piece of good fortune sent you straight from heaven. A fair lady falls in love with you and makes you carry her off from the convent of La Roquette. But why do you never let anyone catch a glimpse of her? Are you jealous? Or is it that she is no such beauty, after all, but old and wrinkled, like that knave of a Mazarin?" "I know what I'm about," answered de Jars, smiling. "I have my very good reasons. The elopement caused a great deal of indignation, and it's not easy to get fanatics to listen to common sense. No, I am not in the least jealous. She is madly in love with me. Ask my nephew." "Does he know her?" We have no secrets from each other. The confidence between us is without a flaw. The fair one, believe me, is good to look on, and is worth all the ogling, fan-flirting baggages put together that one sees at court or on the balconies of the Palais Roy. Ha! I'll answer for that. Isn't she, Morange?" "I am quite of your opinion," said the youth, exchanging with de Jars a singularly significant look. "And you had better treat her well, uncle, or I shall play you some trick." "Ah, ha, ha!" cried Jeannin. "You poor fellow! I very much fear that you are warming a little serpent in your bosom. Have an eye to this dandy with the beardless chin. But, joking apart, my boy, are you really on good terms with the fair lady?" "Certainly I am." "And you are not uneasy, commander?" "Not the least little bit." "He is quite right. I answer for her as for myself, you know. As long as he loves her, she will love him; as long as he is faithful, she will be faithful. Do you imagine that a woman who insists on her lover carrying her off can so easily turn away from the man of her choice? I know her well. I have had long talks with her. She and I alone. She is feather-brained, given to pleasure, entirely without prejudices and those stupid scruples which spoil the lives of other women, but a good sort on the whole, devoted to my uncle, with no deception about her, but at the same time extremely jealous, and has no notion of letting herself be sacrificed to a rival. If ever she finds herself deceived, good-bye to prudence and reserve, and then—" A look and a touch of the commander's knee cut this panegyric short, to which the treasurer was listening with open-eyed astonishment. "What enthusiasm!" he exclaimed. "Well, and then?" "Why, then," went on the young man with a laugh, "if my uncle behaves badly, I, his nephew, will try to make up for his wrong-doing. He can't blame me then; but until then he may be quite easy, as he well knows." "Oh yes, and in proof of that I am going to take Morange with me to-night. He is young and inexperienced, and it will be a good lesson for him to see how a gallant, whose amorous intrigues did not begin yesterday, sets about getting even with a coquette. He can turn it to account later on." "On my word," said Jeannin, "my notion is that he is in no great need of a teacher. However, that's your business, not mine. Let us return to what we were talking about just now. Are we agreed? And shall we amuse ourselves by paying out the lady in her own coin?" "If you like." "Which of us is to begin?" De Jars struck the table with the handle of his dagger. "More wine, gentlemen," said the drawer, running up. "No, dice, and be quick about it." "3 casts each, and the highest wins," said Jeannin. "You begin." "I throw for myself and nephew." The dice rolled on the table. "Ace and 3." "It's my turn now." "6 and 5." "Pass it over." "5 and 2." "We're equal. 4 and 2." "Now let me." "Ace and blank." "Double 6." "You have won." "And I'm off at once," said Jeannin, rising and muffling himself in his mantle. "It's now 7:30. We shall see each other again at 8, so I won't say good-bye." "Good luck to you." Leaving the tavern and turning into the rue Pavee, he took the direction of the river. End of Chapter 1. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia.